Hey, shit ass.
Huh? Oh, it's out!
Yeah.
Ah, snap! Well, it is 5 AM though. God damn it, fuck sleeping, alright. Ni hao, pimps! Tomoharu Kimura is one of key influences when it comes to the Tokyo Xtreme Racer franchise. He produced every mainline Tokyo Xtreme Racer game, and without him, this franchise wouldn't have existed. But as he seemingly retired from video game development in 2006, new people stepped in. And whilst Genki has been dormant till recent years, new leadership, and more importantly new team, has stepped up to make the Tokyo Xtreme Racer reboot. Can the new team stack up to the old team that made the legendary titles as Tokyo Xtreme Racer 3 and 0? I'm glad to say that Kentaro Noguchi and the rest of the Genki team have done an excellent job at making a new entry of the Tokyo Xtreme Racer franchise. But considering that Noguchi was a designer since the Dreamcast titles, I'm not shocked. Well, you know what time it is. It's intro time. To track back a little, in January we got to experience the early access of Tokyo Xtreme Racer with the projected full release to be in May. I also made a video talking about the early access version of the game, and I liked it. I was not the only one that liked it though. Funny thing happened soon after. The full release got delayed. But not because the game didn't have time to cook in the oven. No, far from it. The game was so good and sold so well that Genki willingly decided to delay the game so the full release has more content. I cannot stress enough how incredibly based that is. If you're wondering how good this game is, it's easily my second favorite Tokyo Xtreme Racer game in the franchise, first being 3, but that is purely down to that game's offering being insane. Granted, 2025 is the first game in the franchise after it being dormant for effectively almost 20 years, so the fact that they even pulled this off so well is impressive. So what is Tokyo Xtreme Racer? It's a highway battle game where you literally 1v1 rivals, or 1v2 depending on some rivals. You beat a set amount of rivals to then beat their leaders afterwards. Beat a few leaders and you get to beat bosses. This game is structured incredibly well, and also has a more impactful story, at least compared to the previous titles. I will not get into spoiling the story right now, since I do think that you should experience it firsthand, but the game does a fairly good job of adding new bosses to the mix, while also adding a great job of having fan service when it comes to the franchise. I will spoil the game later down the line when I have to talk about the music, so there is that. Racing is super different to other racing games, as you basically are playing a game of dogfight, where your goal is to outrun the rival and reach a certain gap to drain their health. It's a fairly cool system, and it has also had improvements compared to the previous titles, but also early access version of this game. I will talk about that later. I will talk about cars a little bit later, but currently all you need to know is that the game has around 70 licensed cars, and they're all Japanese only. Yes, Genki Racing Project 2 is still fairly new to making their own games, so the scope for this game is modest. Maybe we get more cars and brands with DLC, but I'm personally fine if they keep more brands for their eventual sequel, it being a Kaido Battle game, or another Tokyo Xtreme Racer game. This is not a perfect game. Hell, even my favorite racing game has flaws, so I will start off with the negatives. First negative, and the biggest one that I want to talk about, is the chase camera. They have done nothing since early access to improve it. You can't increase the chase cam FOV, hell, the game doesn't even have a dynamic FOV like how Tokyo Xtreme Racer 0 did, and the stiffness is genuinely headache inducing at times. Honestly, the stiffness and the roll is the worst aspect of the chase cam. Camera shake also needs a bit of a tune-up. I feel that whilst the shake gradually increases, it increases way too fast. For example, on shake amplitude 10, earthquake shake, camera starts shaking at around 200 km per hour, and the max shake starts at around 250. It should be moved up to 300 or 350. This is an issue for all of the amplitudes. The music is great, and I will talk about it in the positives. One flaw is that after reaching stage 3, you get a new song to basically mark the second half of the story. Problem is that whilst I love the remix of Chrome Fist, hearing it for the 74th time in a row gets a bit tedious. Genki, look, I had music from the previous titles without remixing them as well. I think it would be a great fix to the issue of somewhat underwhelming number of SP battle songs that aren't wanderers or bosses. The handling is quite fine, however, there is one issue. The traction control system is way too aggressive. I could talk about being unable to drift without being sucked into correction. The bigger issue is that on the higher power bands, where you do have more horsepower than stock, the car tends to wheel spin at high RPMs, and traction control kicks in to nullify that by lowering the output power, making you slower. This is especially noticeable on front-wheel drive cars. It is also additionally tied to frame rate, where traction control is more aggressive on higher FPS. This is quite unfortunate as upgrades seem to do a poor job of balancing it out. Speaking of upgrade balance is quite poor. Level 1 to 3 upgrades are fairly good, but level 4 and 5 kind of feel like they really don't do anything, no matter the car. Especially something like handling based parts. You see, near the end game, the AI tends to take corners at such speeds that you simply cannot achieve. You have to wall grind to try and not lose too much speed to effectively not lose the race. The team at Genki should make level 4 and 5 parts more impactful by giving you better handling, which would give you the ability to take corners at higher speeds, just like the AI. Granted, the AI cornering should take a nerf. That being said, I think the upgrades in general are also too weak on mid-tier cars. For example, a car like the R34 GTR with max tune engine based parts can only reach 470 horsepower, in a game where endgame bosses have around 1000. This should be fixed ASAP, as currently if you don't have engine swaps, most of the cars are effectively useless after a certain stage. Engine swaps are a thing. I am happy about that. You can turn any car into a beast. Seriously, you can take a car like the GTR and give it new life by swapping it with the V6 that has 500 horsepowers with no upgrades and 1000 width. You can also be a crackhead and do the same thing to a fucking Suzuki Cappuccino. Two flaws. First one is that to unlock it, you'll need to dish out 3000 BP, which even with the new way of earning BP is still insane. Second one is that to unlock engine swaps, you practically need to beat the entirety of the game. Yep, a cool feature is effectively useless, as instead of engine swaps, you could simply just get a car for the fraction of the BP. I would fix that by separating the engine swaps into two levels. First level would be unlocked for 750 BP, and you would be able to unlock it after beating Cinderella past midnight. You would be able to use the top 3 choices of engine swaps. Second level would be unlocked for 1000 BP, and you would be able to unlock it after clearing stage 4, practically when you unlock the cars like the LFA, the GTR 35, etc., which would also give you the bottom 3 choices. Temperature management is a new addition. It sucks. Starting points are way too high and they should be lowered by 10 degrees Celsius, and personally cars should not heat up while doing free roam. This honestly feels like an afterthought, and it feels more or less like padding so you have more playtime. I don't know why would you do that, because this game is actually addicting, but I think that my ideas would make the engine management system much better. Entering parking areas cools down the engine, so that's a plus. Boss and Wanderer introductions are cool, but they should play only after I flash to them, and not as I approach near them. It's kind of a pace killer. The car audio is a bit whack, but Genki is known for not having the best car audio, so eh. And the fact that audio is currently bugged for me as well, where the car audio is quieter compared to literally everything else. The AI is a little bit spotty, but is definitely an improvement over the early access. I still wish that we got boss introduction cutscenes after unlocking the next chapter, but it is what it is. Oh, and menuing is still a mess. That are all of the negatives, honestly. This game has had a massive upgrade over the early access, and it shows. Where do I even start? I'm going to start with my biggest issue that I had with the early access. BP grind and unlocks. Racing a Rival gave you 1 BP in the early access, which you could use on unlocking cars, perks, and tuning parts. Most parts required 3 BP, some required 1. It was a rather vague system, as in early access you had cars that you unlocked after beating the early access. You also had a fairly strict wallet size limit, which was incredibly infuriating. I'm glad to say that this has been completely reworked for the better. Firstly, the wallet limit has been increased to 10 million credits if you don't upgrade the perk, and the first unlock, which ups the limit to 50 million, is immediately unlocked. You don't have to beat a boss to unlock it. Perks now cost more VP, and scale depending on the level of the unlock. Some cars, for example, will cost more BP than others. Earning BP has also undergone a change. The amount of BP is scaled depending on the rival's level. Here is a chart explaining this better than I will ever explain. You can also now earn BP while challenging rivals that you have beaten already. Genuinely an amazing feature. Perk section of perks has undergone a massive change as well. Of course, you have stuff that you had in early access, like the wallet limit increasing, garage expansions, car discounts, legendary tuner service, and the ability to sell the car at a higher price. You now also have some new perks like the BP limit increase, perks that improve the credit earned for stuff like drifting, launching perfectly, perks that give you rewards every set amount of wins, and importantly, perks that increase the win reward and the combo multiplier bonus. Oh, and that is just for racing. Tuning wise, you also have stuff like the engine swaps, tune, aero discounts, fast travel between parking areas. That's a thing now. It's sick. Oh, and you have a perk to equip aura. Yes, you can aura max. Skills have undergone a massive change. Whilst there are non-equipable ones like the increase on the SP bar, defense, attack, and toughness, there are also skills that are equipable, and my god. Seriously, there are a ton of skills that you can equip. Which, by the way, you can equip up to 3 now, and the options are limitless. You can build a build that has maximum defense, maximum healing, as yes, you can heal your SP bar by driving well or using NOS, or even both, depending on the skill you pick. You can also attack smacks, take center of attention, which deals instant damage, and a perk that shortens rivals' distance, where the SP will start to drain to effectively one-shot low-level rivals. 'Cause funny. Tuning has mostly stayed the same, so I can't really comment that much on it. You can now obviously max tune the car, so there is that. One thing that I can talk about is the fact that some parts are now unlocked by beating certain bosses. You don't have to beat one boss to unlock all of the level 1 parts. It's now much easier. Cars have undergone a small change. Whilst unlocking them is still locked behind bosses, you now have the ability to skip some cars without having to buy previous cars that you would never use. Now unlocking perks functions the same as the early access. You have to beat certain bosses to unlock perks, and then you have to buy them, effectively being the intended way of playing the game. You can also start the game with all of the perks unlocked, as there is an enjoy mode. Enjoy mode can also be accessed through the challenge mode if you simply give up. Yes, the game says that. That's it for the perks. Overall, pretty great, and a massive improvement over early access. Alright pimps, this is where I start talking about some spoilers. I marked this section on YouTube so you can skip it if you don't want to get spoiled. It's music related only though. All I can say is, if you don't want to get spoiled, it's fucking amazing. Genki stated that they didn't want to do original music, and just wanted to remix the music. Music that we have heard in the early access is great. For most of the game, you only really hear that. Cinderella Past Midnight got a new song upgrade though, and whilst I liked Battle of the Empire more, this is still great. It gives out that early Tokyo Xtreme Racer vibe, which granted Cinderella was a part of. Early Polaris also got her soundtrack, which rocks. Basically every big boss in the game has their own soundtrack. Snake Eyes has that funk in the intro, and then kicks into that One Gun Midnight Maximum Tune-esque trance gear. Record X music mixes few beats from previous titles and is very smooth theme type wise. Swift Emperor is by far my second favorite when it comes to audio, as the theme is very aggressive and tense. It really makes you feel as if you are fighting a final boss. Granted, that is not the case, but more on that in a little bit. I do find it funny that the intro is basically a remix of Stricken by Disturbed, and whoever at Genki decided to make this intro sound like this is incredibly based. Now a bit of a lore dump. Two rivals spawn in as wanderers. Revenge Eyes, which is basically Importuner challenges Snake Eyes, and basically a mentor to current Snake Eyes. Revenge Eyes uses the warning theme from Importuner challenge, Unrivaled Emperor uses Battle of the Empire from Tokyo Xtreme Racer 3. Now, you know my stance regarding Battle of the Empire and how amazing it is. Well, turns out that ignoring Unknown, which by the way also has a banger track that sounds grand and epic, there is one more main boss. You see, Perk in Garage's mechanic was watching you race and tear other racers to shreds on the Vangan, and you effectively gave him will to race again. Yeah, the mechanic, Machine Light King, is the final boss of the game, and Genki decided to remix Battle of the Empire. To quote one person, "Everybody gangsta till the highway starts singing in Latin." Spoiler over. There are around 70 cars total in the game, and the variety is pretty cool. Hell, for the first time in 24 years, we have Hondas in the franchise. Additionally, you have modern bangers like the GTR R35, a few Lexus cars, fucking minivans, a goofy SUV, oh, and the fucking Lexus LFA, which when tuned has 1100 horsepower and can reach well above 500 kilometers. Pretty sick. Whilst the difficulty is a bit all over the place and the AI needs some fine tuning, the balance is pretty much there overall. Wanderer's Return and there are 72 of them, and the variety is quite cool. You have a ton of new ones and a bunch of fan favorites of the franchise. Devil Road Run Wanderer is genuinely a cool homage to the test game that Genki made. The fact that they included that character because they felt like it was based. The requirements are not as bullshit as in 3 and 0. You do need some license plate stuff to do, which by the way is bugged and lacks English localization, but there is a mod which is in the description. At least till Genki decides to localize it themselves. There's also some localization tomfoolery where descriptions say that you don't need something equipped, when in reality you need to have something equipped. The visuals are still the same. The game looks really good. Seriously, the 1080p gameplay doesn't do its justice. I hope to see MSAA though, and better denoiser on reflections, but even ignoring that, the game is just stunning. You can pull some genuinely photorealistic shots in the photo mode. Oh yeah, this game has a photo mode. Now, I'm not a photo nerd, but it seems like Genki has done quite a good job with making the mode. You have a ton of options regarding focus, camera lens size, aperture, temperatures, filters as well. It really seems like a cool feature-packed addition to the game. Replays are still not here, as they got delayed so Genki can iron it out. So I'm not too worried about it. That is it when it comes to me yapping about what the game offers. I now want to have a short, brief moment to talk about what I would like to see Genki add. There isn't really a lot, to be honest. The package is pretty sick. But I would like to see some expansions. Primarily I would like to see a Yokohama expansion with the parking area and some rivals there. Yokohama could unlock in stage 3 as it would mark a nice mid-game addition. Alongside Yokohama I would like to see Osaka DLC and Nagoya DLC with separate mini-campaigns. Osaka would have Dart's team as the final boss. God's Estuary could be like the final boss of the area and probably wouldn't be in the team or something, I don't know. Nagoya would have the 3 dragons as the final boss because I love pain, I'm a masochist. And that is pretty much it. In a drought of just painfully bland and bad AAA racing games, Tokyo Xtreme Racer feels like what racing games should be. A game made for people, and not for investors. Yeah, I love this game, and I'm thankful for Genki waking up from their 20-year slumber, and making a peak racing game. See you all soon.